Today, we're going to tell you about how to harvest your plants for maximum potency. Hey, but before we do, this video is sponsored or brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want bigger roots and bigger fruits, you got to check out Real Growers Recharge over at realgrowers.com. All right, come on, let's get into it. So the trick or the secret to harvesting at the right time is to be looking at your trichomes. And the trichomes are the oil glands. That's where all the resin, that's where all the cannabinoids, your THC, and most importantly, all the terpenes are hanging out there. And it's just like this little globe on the top of this little, or a little stick, and then the globe is right on top of it. And that globe will be clear. When it first shows up, when that first develops, that trichome, it'll be clear. And then as it matures, as those terpenes mature in there, it'll turn cloudy, white, and then once they expire, once it gets too old, they die and they turn amber. If you harvest too soon, you're going to get some cannabinoids, but you're not going to get the terpenes yet. And the terpenes are what gives you the entourage effect. The terpenes are what gives you flavor and a lot of that effect. So when the trichomes are clear, that's early harvesting. And the cannabinoids and the terpenes haven't had enough time to fully develop yet. Now, sometimes people will harvest when the trichomes are clear, and people talk about getting a different kind of buzz. It's not a complete buzz because you're just getting some of the cannabinoids, some of that THC, without all that entourage effect of the terpenes. So that's why we don't want to harvest when the trichomes are clear. What we're looking for is milky and cloudy. That's where there's all sorts of terpene development, cannabinoids, all that good stuff that's responsible for the flavor and the effect. When they're milky like that, you wait till they're almost all of them are milky. And then when they're a little bit overdone, or when they're overdone and they've expired, is when they are amber. And you got to really watch out, because when they're amber is when they'll actually rupture. The globe will rupture, and then it will oxidize. Everything that's in there is exposed to oxygen and oxidizes. It's the same way that we don't want to pre-grind our flour before we use it and then put it away, because the cannabinoids oxidize. I mean, think about all that's being stored in that little globe for a reason.
Okay.
That's nature's storage there.
So about what ratio are you looking for when you harvest? Is it okay to have a little bit of ambering? Do you want to have no ambering at all going on?
I mean, the ambering is telling you that that went too long. Those particular trichomes went too long. So yeah, I like to see a couple amber trikes. Really, once everything is white is when I want to harvest.
Okay. And you were telling me before we started recording, you were talking about people that grow for extracts.
Yeah.
They don't want it to go all the way to the milky white.
No, well, there's a new trend. If you think about extracts, it's all about the color. So I certainly don't want to let anything go to amber if I'm trying to get a super light colored extract. A lot of people are harvesting early, and it's because you don't have to flower as long. And then when the extracts come out, they're very light in color and very desirable. But when I scratch my head and think about when I enjoy extracts and then enjoy flower, there's certainly a difference. So I do wonder if by harvesting early, you are robbing yourself of some of those cannabinoids, some of those terpenes.
That might be why some of the extracts don't hit quite as hard as the flower does.
I think so. That's the entourage effect anyhow. And that's what's the cannabinoids and the terpenes that are in that little globe, in that little trichome head.
Okay, so from my naked eye, I can look at a flower and I can see those little crystally white trichomes on there, but it's really hard for me to tell where they're at. How do I get a good idea of where the trichomes are at in their cycle?
Yeah, I mean, you can use a jeweler's loop, a $5 jeweler's loop you can get on Amazon or get at the grocery store. And honestly, with cameras these days, you can just take a picture of it. Take a nice picture fairly close up and then zoom in. These trichomes are fairly decent size where you can see them just with a couple times magnification.
So I got my jeweler's loop, or I got my cell phone zoomed in, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at my trichomes, and you said maybe 1 or 2 are ambered, and that's where you draw the line.
Sure.
What percent, like if I have this percent of ambering, I know I've gone too far?
I'm more worried about the clear ones. I don't want any clear trichomes. They should all be a milky white. That tells me that they're developed. They've got plenty of terpenes in there. That's really what I'm looking for. I don't always wait till amber to harvest, and you certainly don't have to. But that's how I do it. And growing is an art. So there's so many styles. I would like to know how y'all harvest. If you harvest early, what this clear trichome thing is all about, how much amber you're waiting for. So tell me in the comments. And if you dug this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the other couple videos that YouTube has recommended to you.